What's up, good people? I'm just Major. It's the weekend, so you know how we do. So we'll get right into it. Monday, pretty much starting off the week with Bed Bath & Beyond filing for bankruptcy. Started filing bankruptcy and pretty much started closing stores, 360 stores on Wednesday. And they'll pretty much be closing stores for the next few months, next 2 months. Now, it's pretty much been in the news for most of the year actually already that Bed Bath & Beyond was, on the brink of collapsing, on the brink of filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and pretty much, I think, defaulting. Well, I'm gonna put that out there because I'm not sure, but yeah, so they've been pretty much trying to sell off a lot of their items. If you go into the stores, like here in Atlanta, I went into one of them and they're pretty much like shelves are half empty, items are 50 to 75% off. So, and that's pretty much been going on since the beginning of the year. So it doesn't surprise me that they ended up filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I honestly thought they had already. But yeah, Bed Bath & Beyond closing 360 stores starting Wednesday, and they'll do so for the next couple of months. First Republic Bank, man, they've also been in the news all year. They've been in the news all week as well. So last week, actually, their stock was doing pretty well. It was, on an uptick for 2 or 3 days straight. But man, starting Monday, it was a mess. I think starting Monday, man, it ended up tanking somewhere around 50%. And then I think it was up maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, somewhere around 10%. Fell 30%, I think, on maybe Thursday, and then fell another 40% on Friday. And I think after hours on Friday, it fell another 40%. So pretty much by close of the market Friday, by 4 p.m., man, they had lost 97% of their market value for the year. Well, 97% of their stock price for the most part by Friday, and that was for the year. So yeah, First Republic is pretty much been in some really hot water all week, and I've read reports that Friday after market that the FDIC is looking for pretty much two banks in particular, the FDIC is moving forward with two banks in particular to look at buying out, First Republic Bank. And those two banks, I think, are JP Morgan Chase and PNC Bank. But now, it's interesting that PNC Bank is actually on the list because news came out Friday as well that PNC Bank is closing 47, if I'm not mistaken, 47 banks across the country. So what PNC Bank is doing on the list as far as buying out First Republic, I don't know. I'm hoping that they're not closing stores or closing banks in order to prepare themselves for, buying First Republic Bank. I'm not sure how that would work, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, supposedly First Republic Bank is really close to being taken over by the FDIC. But now I'm also reading reports that if that does happen, if they do go into seizure by FDIC and pretty much, go out of business, then it'll take somewhere between 2 and 3 months before it's pretty much finalized. So, but as of right now, as of Friday evening, the two banks in particular, and I believe they're JP Morgan Chase and PNC, two banks in particular are moving forward with the bidding process for First Republic. So yeah. So Also, earlier in the week, while First Republic was going through its turmoil, 11 different banks on Wednesday, 11 different banks on Wednesday were pretty much, man, they were going through the ringer. So First Republic Bank, of course, were number one on the list because 11 different banks were tanking on Wednesday. Pretty much their stock price was tanking. So first on the list, of course, was First Republic Bank. But now a bank that I haven't heard much of really, number two on the list was, let me make sure I got this right. Let's see. PacWest Bank. Yeah, so at the time on Wednesday, First Republic Bank, their stock was down 93% on the year, but PacWest Bank was number two on the list as far as, you know, having some issues, and, excuse me, their stock price has been down, as far as Wednesday, 55% on the year. So yeah, there are really some major issues still going on today with banks, and it's only been a month, I think, going on 2 months, starting Monday, going into May. So nearly 2 months since Silver Bank, I forget the name, Silicon Valley Bank and the other bank. So, man, since they ended up closing and pretty much, you know, going, I'm not sure if they've gone out of business, but pretty much, you know, being seized by the FDIC. So it's only been, you know, 2 months, and here we are with other banks pretty much still, you know, being in turmoil. But most of them are citing that the major issues are, or the major issue is the interest rate hikes. And what it looks like is happening is, you know, interest rates are, you know, rising, but while the interest rates are rising, banks are, their margin for profits is narrowing more and more. So already, you know, if they got all these loans out here and they can't make any money, so layoffs won't work because they're losing money by the boatload. So they'll have to end up, a lot of these banks are ending up, you know, closing a lot of their doors. And pretty much, you know, speaking of losses, First Republic Bank, when they reported earnings earlier this week, why they put this information out there, I don't know, but maybe they were supposed to put the information out there. But man, I tell you, when they put it out there, they just took a nosedive like 2 days in a row. They put the information out there about how much money they actually lost last month in deposits. So it's pretty much, it looks like deposits are people withdrawing money, and the loss ended up being $100 billion in 1 month. Man, that is catastrophic. $100 billion in 1 month. And so losing out on those deposits, where it looks like deposits are pretty much where people are either taking money out through ATMs or through, you know, the teller or drive-through or inside the bank, or transferring the money. But like most banks, you can only, you know, withdraw up to like, I think $1,000 a day at an ATM, something like that, or it might be a little more than that inside the bank. But yeah, so for the most part, people are just, you know, money moving that fast, that amount of money, people are just transferring the money into another bank or another institution. But it's interesting though that all of these banks are having these issues, and I haven't heard of one credit union having that same issue. But I don't know, it could be that at credit unions, they're, a little, more of a stickler to the rules, so to speak. Maybe credit unions are, maybe like federally, controlled, or controlled by state government or something like that, or not necessarily controlled, but state government may have some kind of say so, or federal government may have some kind of say so. So they may be a little more. They may be a little more, stickler for, or a little more, tough, or a little tougher rather, on customers as far as loans are concerned. You probably have to have a near perfect a near perfect score to get a loan from a credit union. So be it personal loan, mortgage loan, auto loan, whatever it is. So yeah, and that's pretty much been, the news. Positive news for the week: Microsoft is actually popped, and they reported earnings earlier in the week, and their stock was up nearly 10% the day after. I think they reported on Wednesday, and then the stock was up nearly 10% on Thursday. So it seems like, pretty much for the most part, Microsoft has always been a pretty decent stock, or a really good stock rather, and they've been around for it seems like 100 years for the most part. But yeah, Microsoft, it looks like they are leading the AI race, and they're leading the mix pretty much in the AI race from reports that I've seen and read, and it's pretty much in large part due to their $10 billion investment in OpenAI, who created, if I'm not mistaken, OpenAI created the ChatGPT system. So yeah, so Microsoft being a really big investor in OpenAI, it looks like that's been paying dividends, for them for the most part. So yeah, so other news, Southwest Airlines. So remember that huge fiasco Southwest Airlines had back in December? I think it was pretty much around the Christmas holidays, where they had to cancel like nearly 17,000 flights because of a system outage. And now they're reporting that system outage cost them nearly $800 million in losses. So I guess they pretty much did an investigation or an audit, and found out where the issues were. And I think I read or heard that it was like something that had to do with their firewall. So not sure exactly what happened with their firewall. And I think I read also earlier in the year, around January, maybe right later in last year around December when it happened, that it looks like Southwest Airlines was trying to implement a new software, and the software didn't take. So yeah, $800 million in losses, and also I've heard that it could possibly cost them $1 billion to get it right, because I think earlier in the week as well, I heard that some 40% of their flights were delayed earlier in the week because of more, system issues. Man, yeah, looks like Southwest Airlines is in need of some really big help. So other positive news: Meta, they reported earnings earlier in the week, and they beat on their estimates for their earnings, and their stock was up nearly 15%. So, and this was Thursday. So yeah, Meta up nearly 15%, and it looks like Mr. Zuckerberg is saying that users are pretty much staying on Instagram like 25% longer since their launch of Instagram Reels. So yeah, so it looks like people are staying on longer. So of course, if you got more customers and more users rather, or more people staying on longer, then more ad money that they can possibly, reel in. Pun intended. So yeah, so Meta looking pretty good, as well as Microsoft on earnings beat this week. Not looking so great. Lyft is laying off 26% of their workforce. And now I'm not sure if this 26% is coming from corporate staff or if they're laying off drivers. I don't know how they can lay off drivers, but I don't know, because maybe it's a silly question, but yeah, I don't know. How are you laying off 26%, or not how are you laying off 26%, but more so where's the 26% coming from? Is it corporate staff? Because I didn't know that, and I think the 26% amounted to just like right over 1,000 employees. So I didn't know Lyft had that many employees in their corporate offices. But maybe they're not employees. Maybe it's a mix. I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the week, man. And it's been a terrible week for banks in general, the banking sector. And still leading the race in positivity for banks is JP Morgan Chase, number one in the country right now. And PNC Bank, I think I read, is number 4. So, but they are closing 47 stores across not 47 stores, but 47 of their banks, their doors across the country this week. So, man, yeah, PNC Bank is having their issues. PacWest Bank is having some issues with their stock price, at least being down 55% pretty much throughout the year. Now, I haven't heard anything about PacWest closing any banks. I think they're based out of, Seattle somewhere. I'm not sure. But yeah, and then of course First Republic Bank with their issues throughout the week and their stock tanking. Man, I think starting Monday the stock was at $16 a share, and after hours on Friday I saw it get as low as I think $1.90 a share. Man, they are really having a tough time over there at First Republic Bank. But these are the cost of interest rate hikes. And, people pretty much raising interest rates, or the Fed Reserve raising interest rates. But yeah, so that'll pretty much do it for the week. And I'm checking out. I'm just Major. That's the weekend.